All right, guys, so we talked about some of the different forces before, and in the last video we went through some of the examples. We have gravity, buoyancy, air resistance, the normal force, friction, a lot of different types of forces. So today I thought I would just show you guys some examples of what some of those forces actually are, rather than just talking about them. So I have a set of car keys right here. Well, maybe not car keys, but I have a set of keys, okay? Now if I drop them, they fall down. Welcome to gravity. We all know that that's what gravity does. Gravity likes to pull things down to the center of the Earth. At least Earth's gravity does. The moon has gravity. Everything has gravity. But when we drop these, they fall. If we wanted to, let's say, suspend them from the ceiling or hang them from the ceiling, we would need to do something to keep them from falling and just hitting the ground. So I have this lanyard right here, okay? So I'm going to clip this on. Now, you can see the lanyard. It's kind of floppy right now. You know, there's no real strength to it or whatever. Keys still drop, but then they stop and they just hang in the air. Doesn't matter how long or short the lanyard is, they're hanging. So right now, the forces that are acting on these keys are, we have gravity trying to pull the keys down, and we have this lanyard trying to pull the keys back up. That is called the tension force. The tension force is what we can see as this lanyard tightens itself and makes itself nice and straight to counteract the gravity of the keys trying to fall down to the ground. Okay? So there's one example of force. Spring force is also kind of a hard one. So I have this block of wood right here, okay? And it's got a screw in it, and I have a spring attached. Now, if I hold this block of wood right here, I can't see. Anyways, if I hold it right here and I pull, you see that the string starts to stretch. Now, I'm holding this block in place right now, okay? So I'm actually pulling the block of wood away, so I'm doing an applied force to pull this block away from this hand right here. So I'm pulling it this way. But I'm holding this spring right here. You can see the spring starts to stretch out, okay? If I let go of this, what's going to happen? It's going to shoot into my hand, and, well, it didn't hurt, but I thought it would. But the spring is going to pull it right back, because at that point, the spring force, okay, there's a spring involved. The spring force is going to make it shoot back across. You can also find the spring force in things like rubber bands, elastic, that weird thing I used to wear on my back to make me stand up straight. Anything that's kind of stretchy like that, you have a spring force. You can pull with a spring force. And also, if you had the other type of spring where you could compress it, push it together, and then let it go and it shoots back out. That's kind of the thing they use in Jack in the Boxes. You push the little, creepy clown or whatever in there, turn the little thing, and then boom, it pops out. Well, that's because you've pushed the clown down against a spring. So that's what a spring force is. You're going to involve either pulling or pushing, depending on your type of spring. Okay. So we got some other examples here. So I have this big old book right here, 3,000 physics problems. Okay. This is going to be your next homework. I'm kidding. It's not going to be your homework. But I have a book. What happens when I drop the book? Right? Falls down to the ground. Gravity. Okay? Don't do that with your textbooks. They're old and they'll break. But gravity pulls it back down to the ground. Okay? Now, what happens if I set it down on this table right here that you can't see yet? Okay? Now it's sitting on this very, very nice, lovely coffee table that I built over spring break. That's the only reason I made this video, was to show off my coffee table that I made. Anyways, though, I'm just kidding. We're learning some physics. So we have the book sitting right here. It is not going to fall down to the ground. If I put it over here, where you can't really see it as well, boom, falls to the ground. Here, I can drop it on the table, but then the table stops it, okay? The book is still trying to fall down to the earth, but it can't because the table is putting a force on that book to keep it from falling through. We call that the normal force. That comes from a kind of a math word when if you have a line going this way, like this red line on the book right here, and then you have something perpendicular sticking straight up, okay? If you have a line going right here like this, we call this the normal line. That's why that's called the normal force. Any two objects that are sitting on something will produce that normal force. If I magically just took this table away right now, we would end up with the book falling back down to the ground because of gravity. Okay? So hopefully, move the camera back up. So hopefully these examples kind of helped you maybe identify some of these forces. When you're looking at forces, it doesn't matter if it's a book on a table or a water bottle on a table or your dog on a table. Okay, that doesn't matter. You still have gravity pulling on it, and you have the normal force from the table pushing up on it. The only other forces I think we haven't talked about yet, we got to go back to the book on the table for this one. Our production quality is very high right now. Yeah. Okay, so the book is just sitting there. It is doing absolutely nothing, and it's going to continue to do absolutely nothing unless something influences it. Either the table gets pulled away so the normal force isn't there anymore and gravity can pull it down, or I can do an applied force. So I'm going to push on this book. Oh, hey, puppy. I'm going to push on this book, and wow, magic, it's moving across the table. Okay, this force that my hand is putting on it, we call this the applied force. I'm applying a force to the book. When I stop, the book stops. Now, Newton kind of was like, it's going to keep doing the same thing forever. So when I'm pushing it, it wants to keep moving. As weird as that sounds, it wants to just keep shooting across the room that way. But there's a force that is stopping it from doing that. That force is the force of friction. Okay? So friction, you will find all kinds of different types of friction. You have like friction like the book and the table rubbing against each other. I know I've had you guys do this before where you can feel that warmth coming. That's because as your hands are rubbing together, there's little like teeth kind of. Your hands are not made out of teeth. But there's little grippy things or things sticking out and they start rubbing against each other, okay? And as they do that, it provides a force that usually tries to slow an object down. That's why if you hit like a hockey puck on ice, it will slide all the way across the room and probably want to keep going for a really long time, if not forever. You know, ice isn't perfectly frictionless, but it's going to just keep going and going and going. That's like the whole point of hockey. Well, okay, not the whole point. You know what I mean. But that hockey puck will keep sliding. This wood right here, it has a lot more of those little teeth, we'll call them. And so it will stop something a lot quicker. Also, that depends on how strong gravity is pulling on something. So when this book was sliding across the table, we actually had 4 forces going on. We had gravity trying to pull the book down to the center of the earth. We had the normal force of the table pushing back up. Remember, forces usually come in pairs. So gravity and the normal force were a pair there. We had me applying a force, pushing the book across the table, the applied force. And then the thing that was opposite of that was fighting me pushing it, that was the friction force. Okay? So hopefully these little examples, hopefully some of them help maybe on that assignment. Rather than just talking about it, gives you a couple examples. There are some things that we didn't really talk about through these examples, like air resistance. If I drop, this book, if I hold it and drop it, it's going to fall a lot faster. Well, let's just try it, actually. I think I got a thing that we can use. This is a napkin, okay? All right, so gravity is going to pull on the book, okay? So let go of the book, boom, book falls, okay? And the dog looks at me like, what are you doing, human? All right, now I have this napkin. Okay, I'm going to let this napkin go. Which one took longer to fall? The book or the napkin? Okay, let's try them same time. Okay. Now, in a vacuum, they actually fall at the same rate. A vacuum is when you suck out all the air, basically. Okay, space is a vacuum. But in like our real world scenario right now, the air is made up of a whole bunch of molecules, oxygen, carbon dioxide, a whole bunch of stuff, okay? And that provides a type of friction we call air resistance. So the book is able to push through that air resistance a lot better than the napkin can. And so the napkin just kind of glides down and floats down because it's not, the force of gravity is not as strong on the napkin as it is on the book, because the book has more mass. And also the volume is spread out different. Anyways, the other force we didn't talk about is the buoyant force. That's like if you have a boat and it's floating on top of water, or a stick floating on top of water. Okay, so as you're going through the assignment, look at the different scenarios. Okay, the assignment's going to tell you like a box on a table, and then it'll say the box. That means we care about what forces are acting on the box. Yes, there are forces on the table in that case, but we don't care about those. We just care about the ones on the box. Also on the assignment, you'll notice it'll say like big F with a little tiny g, which stands for the force of gravity. You don't have to worry about writing your forces like that. Right now, just write out gravity, buoyancy force, air resistance, whatever forces you think that scenario is describing, just write it out. If you want to do it the other way, you can. If you're going to try and type those in, you have to use like a subscript, which makes that little tiny g that sticks down below the big letters. You'll have to look up Google Docs or Microsoft Word how to do that if you're going to do that. But that's not a requirement for the assignment. Anyways, hope you guys are having fun, doing whatever you're doing. Hopefully you're doing stuff besides just schoolwork. Other things that got posted, make sure you get on there and do that 7th grade survey. Okay, that's going to let you pick out some of your electives for next year, because you get to kind of start choosing some of the classes you would take, which is pretty fun, really cool. I think when I went into 7th grade, I did home ec and woodworking and band. But the woodworking was fun, and home ec was fun. You got to make some food, eat the food, learn how to sew, all kinds of crazy stuff. So make sure you do that. Make sure you do the attendance assignment as well. That way we can log you that that everything's going well for you. And of course, if you have any questions, just reach out to me or one of the other 2 teachers that you have. And we'll see you next time.